Welcome back to Global Village and Sailing for Everyone with Peter Capatosto and Michael Storer. Peter, Michael, welcome back to our third and final segment. Now, I made a faux pas earlier. I said Philippine Home Builders Yacht Club. It's Philippine Home Boat Builders Yacht Club, or PHBYC. Let's talk about that, Michael. This is an organization that was, it really was an online thing, a social media creation, but it's evolved into so much more since then. Tell us a bit about it.
It was actually around before social media. It ran through a website and a bulletin board. And then it was a completely Pinoy thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's not foreigners.
Just local chaps coming together and
Sharing information,
Yeah.
saying what works, doesn't work, and then they go on to organise events and so on. And that's when the first overtures to the Tower Lake Yacht Club came in.
All right.
as
So
well.
PHBYC works very closely with Taal Lake Yacht Club,
yes,
and a lot of close collaboration. Like this, the videos we've been showing, which
have
is
all
our
been at the Lake Yacht Club.
and
yes.
in collaboration with this
But
PHBYC.
Philippines Home Boat Builders, they also have done boat building projects of 10 boat builds in Cebu and Davao last year.
Okay.
So we're not only working with Peter at Taal Lake, but we're gradually exporting the joy to the rest of the Philippines.
How big is the Philippine Home Boat Builders Yacht Club?
It's an internet group, so how do we know how
Yeah,
big it is?
yeah.
There are about 800 members on Facebook, and probably
How about
an-
active? Like you see them and participating and all that.
I would say probably 200 or 300
that's not
spread
bad.
through the Philippines.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
No. Okay, let's talk about the Goose, the Oz Goose. You saw again the photos, more footage of the Oz Goose in action
Yep.
from Peter's Taal Lake Yacht Club. And aside from the very boxy shape,
Yes.
is the bottom flat or is it a V-shaped hull?
No, sideways. It's perfectly flat.
Okay.
But it's got some curvature from front to the back.
Now, does it handle in the ocean as well as it handles on the lake? Because the conditions are different, right, in the ocean.
Yeah. The thing that actually stops boats are the wind-driven waves, the chop, which is quite close together.
All right.
When it's a swell, it's very little problem to a lightweight boat because the boat just rises and falls with the swell. A couple of weeks ago, there was an event at the Punta Fuego Yacht Club, which is a sea venue, and some of the goose sailors had only sailed onto our lake, so the swell was a new thing to them.
How do they handle
So
that?
I hear their eyes were about that big when they saw the swell for the first time. And then they were surprised the boat just handled it without any problem whatsoever.
Wow.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
bravo.
It's actually harder to sail in chop, where the waves are closer together, and we get that on Taal Lake Yacht Club,
Yeah.
and there's less of that in the ocean. So it's actually harder to sail on a lake than it is to sail in the ocean. Yeah, it's surprising, but you think of these big waves, but there's a big space between one wave and the next wave, so you just go up and then down and up and then down, but it's far. So
Now, your students in the Taal Lake Yacht Club, they all learn using the Oz Goose.
no.
So, what kind of mix do you have there?
A lot of the students will learn actually on a Hobie, but a different kind of Hobie.
Right.
It's called a Hobie Getaway,
Okay.
and we can put about 4 people or 5 people on the Getaway. So everybody gets their chance to learn. If you come by yourself, you might learn on the Goose because you'll have one instructor and you. But if you come in a bigger group, we'll put you on a different boat.
Why is that?
Most likely.
Because the bigger boats
Then
can
you
handle
only
more
need
people,
one-
and
one
the
instructor.
Goose, yeah.
The goose can handle 2 adults
Yeah.
and 1 instructor,
All
so
right.
that's the sort of top.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long does it take before one can actually, pilot one of these geese or Hobies? How long does it take?
A lot of it has to do with just everybody's very, very different. Some people get into it and you'll be surprised, but in 30 minutes they got it. Other people, much longer. But on the average, I think you get the enjoyment right away because you just normally will go into like a 1 hour lecture maybe.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get in onto the boat, you're already sailing and you're already having fun. And you'll maybe probably after maybe 2 days of sailing, you'll start out just in front of the club.
And then you can go by yourself, like a solo.
By yourself, and then pretty soon
yeah.
you'll be bringing your friends with you.
Very good. Now, Michael, earlier we talked about how you removed all the unnecessary add-ons and made boats expensive. What are these things that you trimmed out, that you left out purposely to bring down the cost of the Goose?
Well, the thing about all the bits that are added onto boats is they don't actually add much speed at all. They add a few percentage points, and that means that the boat will win major regattas. You only need a few percentage points, but those few percentage points, if they're done through equipment, are very expensive.
Yeah.
So I've seen kids' boats that were really simple, made of wood when I was a kid. Now those same kids' boats have carbon fiber pieces.
There you go.
So it's starting to be crazy. The people who make those sorts of decisions talk about it as being innovative. I just look at it as substituting materials, because we really aim to get the same level of the understanding of sailing technology into the wooden parts of the boat that we use. So the boat is responsive, it is strong, it feels good on the water.
What do you think about that, Peter? This going back to basics, which is the philosophy of the Goose, bringing down the cost by going back to the basics. You know, forget about all this carbon fiber, whatever, and just making a wooden boat.
Yeah, as what we were talking about earlier, which is that idea that you have to have a one design. So as long as all the boats are the same, then it's person against person dealing with the elements, rather than buying your way into first place.
Yes.
In Taal Lake Yacht Club, we have a very strong one design philosophy, which is actually why we also got the Hobie 16 as our original boat that we started to promote.
Yeah.
And that's because the boat is relatively, as boats go, is relatively inexpensive. Even though it's old, it's still going to be the same in terms of its performance, because you're not allowed to change anything. If you replace something, you have to replace it with something that is from the factory or made by a company that will make something that is approved by the factory.
Yes.
So you can't start changing all kinds of things to make that little 1% or 2% or even a 0.5% difference. When you consider that maybe you have a race which is an hour long, you can win by a hair. You know, that little. If you have two sailors who are the same, the guy who's gonna win is the guy who probably spent that little bit more or a lot more.
Yes.
Maybe you had $1,000 boat and he made it a $2,000 boat, but he won by 2 seconds. So those little things make a difference. There's no reason. Again, it gets more and more and more and more and more.
It's like you want what the other guy has, and you think it contributes to a faster boat,
Yeah.
and it's
So the year after, everyone has a
Everybody has to
$2,000
do
boat.
it. Yeah.
And then someone finds another little
$3,000
advantage.
boat.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly what's happened. Like one of the most popular kids' boats in the world, the Optimus, now costs about $7,000 to put in the water in Australia. That's
Kids' boat.
7,000 Australian dollars to put one kid on the water.
As opposed to $4,000. I mean, less than $1,000 for your
Yeah, so
Oz
you
Goose.
can put one kid on the water, or you can put
Seven
seven
kids.
Oz geese on the water
Yes,
with
yes.
2 adults in each boat, or an adult and 2 kids, and you can use it for picnics as well, which you can't use for.
Very good,
And
very
the
good.
original price of that kid's boat was the price of a goose.
There you
But because of all those add-ons, it went up so much.
People just, I think it's a competitive streak in people.
Oh,
that,
yes,
you want
definitely.
you want to up the game, and
Yes.
before you know it, it's ballooned.
Right.
The cost is
But it's
ballooned.
also decisions that parents have made. It's not the kids that have driven it.
that's
Of
right.
course, it's paying for it. It's,
Yeah.
it's the folks. Okay, guys, you have about 2 minutes to close. Let's talk about plans. Let's talk about your plans first, and where you think you're taking the BYC with your
Okay.
Osgoose. What are your
Well,
plans?
well, the thing that the PHBYC now is doing is running building programs. We run a 10-boat building program a few times a year in different locations around the Philippines. It's actually a very cheap way to get a boat because you pay for materials and it becomes a family holiday. A group of our volunteers do most of the work, and then your family group or corporate group or group of friends come along for 3 days on a long weekend, and they put the boat together.
Very nice.
and
very
go
nice.
sailing.
Very nice. Kind of like team building effort going on there, huh?
Yeah,
Nice,
or
nice.
just a family
Yeah, yeah.
enjoyment thing.
Yeah, it brings the family together, you know, as a team. Very nice. How about you, Peter? Plans for Taal Lake Yacht Club?
I think, well, since we're talking about the goose, I think if we just concentrate on the goose itself and the plans for how we see the goose, and one of the reasons that we accepted the goose as a major part of our One Design program is because we see that it's a very affordable boat, and it's something that can be made as a team building project. So there's family that is a driver. Is we need, parents are going to want to have their family with them. There's corporate. It can be, again, a team building project. And then one of the things that we've really been trying to get into is schools. So if we have families, schools, later on donating to schools who can then tie up with corporate, there's a lot of advertising possibilities.
Absolutely.
And then we also see the boat as a boat that can be used for flood rescue. And I think that with family, school, corporate, all together, that looks very green.
Plus
easy,
the whole
it's
disaster
a nice
angle.
write-off on your taxes. I think it's a good win-win situation for everybody.
Very good. I'm so happy to hear all of these from you two gentlemen, and I think it's a synergy, perfect synergy of the enthusiasm and the technology coming together, and I think it's really exciting times for sailing, recreational sailing in the Philippines. Bravo, gentlemen. And we're surely going to be following this topic, and I, for one, am very excited to become a sailor on one of your geese.
Yeah, come and join one of our building groups.
Yeah,
I will, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show.
Definitely,
Thank you very
And
much.
more power to Taal Lake Yacht Club, and of course, you guys at the Philippine Home Boat Builders Yacht Club, and of course, the Osgoose.
And we're all on Facebook.
Yeah.
All on Facebook. Bravo.
Thank you, buddy.
So,
we'll
guys,
see.
I hope you enjoyed our show tonight on Sailing for Everyone. Join us again next week here on Global Village, and let us take you around the world. Till then, you all have a good evening.